Ryan Blaney wins Martinsville and locks himself into the championship. We've got the Final Four, and Eddie Gossage takes a weird shot at Denny Hamlin after the Martinsville race. Let's get into it. Coming up next. What's going on, everybody? Hope you're doing good today. All right, fresh back from Martinsville. Have finally recovered from that 2 hour of sleep weekend, but in front of a massive crowd, probably the biggest crowd I've ever seen. Danny B was there, got to see him, so that was definitely really cool. Ryan Blaney wins the race. Not a lot of people had Ryan Blaney in their Final Four, but this last, I guess, sector of the playoffs here, Ryan Blaney has come alive and he has showed a lot of strength. So he now has to be not only in the Final Four as he locked himself in, but one of your favorites in the Final Four. By far had the fastest car on the racetrack for the majority of this race. Denny Hamlin, the only car that was even close to him. He put up a good fight. Chase Elliott with some weird strategy, as well as Eric Almirola at the very end. I'm not super up on the strategy because I was at the race live, so apparently on TV the strategy was more understood, of course, than me sitting in the stands. But Chase Elliott and Eric Almirola were the only people that threw kind of a monkey wrench in what seemed to be like the inevitable there, that Ryan Blaney just had a rocket ship. So he locks himself in, good momentum going forward, and we'll get to all that in just a minute. But speaking of Denny Hamlin, Eddie Gossage had this weird tweet right here after the race. Eddie Gossage: why can't Denny Hamlin win the NASCAR title? He's won 51 races, 3 Daytona 500s, a Coke 600, but never the champ. Inside scoop: folks in the garage question his focus and his intelligence, makes emotional decisions, losing points, and distracted by too many non-competition items. Talented, but ... So this is not the first time this has been said. What I question about this is, it feels very personal that you would release this statement after the man has just been knocked out of the playoffs. Look, nobody's debating that Denny Hamlin didn't have a great season. Nobody's debating that Denny Hamlin is a great driver, and you could have this conversation at any point before this race, but to release this the moment that he gets knocked out of the playoffs, you're either like begging for attention or you've got some personal axe to grind with Denny Hamlin. I don't know if Denny Hamlin stole his girlfriend or something, but it definitely seems like very personal, like Eddie Gossage to be dropping that type of tweet right after the man gets eliminated from the playoffs. I mean, talking about kicking a dude when he's down, like that was sort of out of pocket by Eddie, but want more personality in the sport. There you go. There's more personality. Who knew Eddie Gossage and Denny Hamlin had beef apparently? That was pretty crazy. All right, beef aside, let's get to that top 10. Ryan Blaney finishes the race in first place, of course. Eric Almirola with a good final race at Martinsville. Looks like he had a chance to win, but then at the very end, the inevitable happened. Ryan Blaney does pass him, but good run for Eric Almirola. Denny Hamlin, good car, just a little bit too little, too late. Could not make up the deficit on William Byron there. Finishes third, though. Continues his good season, except I guess Eddie Gossage didn't think so. Chase Briscoe finishes fourth. Joey Logano fifth. Kyle Larson, solid day, finishes sixth. Christopher Bell, same thing, solid day, finishes seventh. Those two were locked in, so this was more or less probably just academic for them. Chris Buescher, 8th place finish, good, but you can't be good. You've got to be elite in these final rounds. Chris Buescher also gets eliminated. We'll get into the points as well. Austin Cindric finishes 9th, good finish for him. And Todd Gilliland finishes 10th in the 38 car, so good run for Todd Gilliland. He's actually really good at Martinsville. All right, let's get to bad race. It was a bad race for RCR. They continue to struggle with the short track package, particularly at Martinsville. Kyle Busch had a tire go down, had to come in and pit. He never could recover from that, but he was running around Austin Dillon all day, and Austin Dillon finished around 23rd. So RCR still has to work on the short track package on the Cup side of things. And I don't know, for them to go forward next season, they're going to have to be good at Martinsville at some point, because it is in the round before the final race at Phoenix. So they do really need to work on their Martinsville package over there at RCR. So that is the only bad race other than the 4 playoff drivers who are eliminated. So let's get to them. Let's start off with Martin Truex. Martin Truex had a great season, regular season champion, but in the playoffs, he had a significant decline in performance in the playoffs, and today, pit road hurt him. He came down one time on pit road, and I don't know if he was speeding or what happened, but he had to serve a pit road penalty. Like I said, it's from the stands, hard to decipher. But then there was another time in the pits. I don't know if they showed it on TV or if it was even talked about, but he either fell off the jack or they didn't get a tire on properly. So in the pits all day was the reason Martin Truex Jr. couldn't recover, but he had a good run. He had had a good car, a car fast enough to run at least with Denny Hamlin. But the pits hurt him, and in the playoffs, like I said, you can't be good. You've got to be elite. Martin Truex Jr. in this playoffs just was not. He never had the regular season speed that he had. All right, now on to Chris Buescher. Chris Buescher, he had a great season. RFK has rebounded. So even though he doesn't make the finals, I think Chris Buescher in the 17 getting here, even though it's kind of a bad race because you don't get to go to race in the finals at Phoenix, I think it's good overall. RFK is back on the map. Brad Keselowski has gotten that organization since becoming part owner up to another level. They've gotten them back to the elite status, in my opinion, at least for this season. We'll see what happens in next season. I assume they will continue to get better and better. But good season for them overall. Just unfortunate he couldn't make it to the finals. Tyler Reddick just didn't have the car today. He was overdriving it at times. He was a menace and a weapon. He was just so overdriving it, just trying to be in that conversation, trying to get himself into the playoffs finals, to go to Phoenix. Just couldn't do it today. Today wasn't his day, but it wasn't a bad season for him. A really good season for 23-11. I want to say this is probably the highest they've ever finished. I need to look that up, but it's the highest I remember them ever finishing in the points. It's a good run for Tyler Reddick, and he continues to build. He had a good season last year. He's had a good season this year. I think he's won 2 or 3 races. He won 2 or 3 races last year, so he continues to improve and get better. Just got to work on his Martinsville, much like RCR. Tyler Reddick also has to work on his Martinsville game because it just wasn't there today. As you saw, his teammate had a good run, so you assume if he would have a similar setup, he would have a good run there. So he just needs to work on Martinsville a little bit. It is one of his Achilles tracks, but he's a good driver. He'll figure it out. And finally, Denny Hamlin already sort of got into it with the Gossage thing, but Denny Hamlin had a great season. There's nothing to really hang your head about. It's just a brutal system to crown a champion. This playoff thing is, if it was like old NASCAR style points, Denny Hamlin would be your points leader. He would be up 3 on, I think, William Byron, if I'm not mistaken. So old school Winston Cup style points, we would have actually a really great battle going into Phoenix. It would be -3. Byron would be -3 to Denny Hamlin. So he hasn't had a bad season. So I don't know what Gossage is talking about there. But just interesting tweet. But Denny Hamlin, good season. Just didn't get the job done. And all the Denny people are like, oh, he always chokes or whatever. I don't think he necessarily choked. He did everything you could do today at this race. But, you know, another season where Denny Hamlin is not going to be champion. So he's going to continue to get compared to Mark Martin and Junior Johnson as one of the best to ever do it without a title. All right, and that about does it for this one. We've got our final 4, Larson, Bill, Byron, and Blaney. So we're going to see what happens in Phoenix, of course, the rest of this week. We will talk about their chances of winning at Phoenix. We'll get into those numbers and all that. And I'm going to try to do a live stream every day this week. So stay tuned for those as well. And if you made it this far, I would love to have your subscription. If you're already subscribed, you know I appreciate you. If you want to leave it down in the comments, I've got a lot of comments to get to from the other video, and I'll get to as many of the comments as I can from this video. And if you want to help out the channel, the link is in the description. And other than that, thanks for your time. Peace.